The other commission that I'm working on, again, a large-scale commission, Clara Min is the director of New York Concert Artists and Associates, and she wanted a large-scale piano piece for me that we've been talking about for a number of years, and what it's really finally boiled down into is what I'm calling Fosteriana, Visions of America. And what it is, it's going to be about a 60-minute musical tour of early 19th century America, and what it will do is often reference Stephen Foster songs, a composer that I admire greatly. Not only are his pieces so familiar that we even forget that they were composed, things like O Susanna or Swanee River, Camptown Races. These kinds of pieces are almost considered folk music. They're so familiar, and of course Stephen Foster was the first really great American composer. And of course what's also interesting about Foster is that he considered himself a songwriter, and that didn't even exist back in the early 19th century. People just didn't do this. So one of the things I'm doing with this musical tour is referencing occasionally Foster songs. So for example, just a couple of weeks ago on August 24th, Clara premiered Romance from the Fosteriana, the first piece that she's done. And it was the Myra Hess Memorial Concerts in Chicago. And the piece is called Romance, but it references the tune Beautiful Dreamer. Of course, you all know Beautiful Dreamer. Beautiful Dreamer, da 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 da. So again, what I do is in the piano piece, I reference the song. And there's even one measure where it's fairly obvious that Beautiful Dreamer is the tune. So anyway, that was, as I said, she just did the performance of that broadcast on WFMT in Chicago. And then finally, the other two projects are a little bit more informal. As some of you know, I'm tremendously interested in the great Italian poet Dante, and for many years have been working on the idea of building music off of his great poem, The Divine Comedy. Of the Divine Comedy, most people are familiar with Inferno, Dante's Inferno. But actually, I prefer the Purgatorio and the Paradiso, where he actually talks about purgatory and then heaven. And so what I'm doing is composing a series of symphonies on Dante's Purgatorio, of which I've finished one. And working on performances for this possibility. And the last thing I've been doing, which is kind of fun too, is I was invited to compose something for Paul Hefner, who's a jazz pianist and composer who works with Tara Nova, who's an African-American singer, jazz singer who works with his band, for Black History Month. They often get gigs in February, sort of celebrating Black experience in America. So what I've done is I've composed some concert jazz songs on poems of the African-American poet Paul Dunbar. And so they've been doing these, are hoping to record it. And in fact, just performed a couple of weeks ago at a jazz festival, at a concert festival in Bulgaria. So that was kind of fun. So that's kind of what I've been up to. Questions or comments?
That database, I love that you're doing, where you have the...
Oh, yeah.
Now, is that a plan for, you said you're working on it with Tad Turner, I think you said?
Well, Tad helped me set it up.
Oh, okay.
Tad, I didn't know FileMaker Pro, so Tad knew.
Okay.
I basically said, I want this, I want that. He was able to figure out the
is that
fields.
something you're more or less thinking of expanding to other projects? Or
Yeah,
other
as you can see right now, I've only got 97 tunes in the database.
Okay.
But because I'm putting them in basically as things that are relevant to my work, like the Charlie Parker compositions. As I said, I'm doing some Coltrane, looking at some of the Coltrane tunes as part of this. So, for example, one of the things that's particularly cool about this is, like, if I hit Find, I can do something like, go up here, and I can't do that. I can go up to Composers and say Coltrane. And you see I've got 43 Coltrane tunes in here, of which the first is Bessie's Blues, Big Nick, Blue Train. Notice I have alternate spellings. Blue Train. So in case you search for it and they spell it the other way, Countdown, Crescent, Equinox, Central Park West, da-da-da-da. So in other words, it's really cool from being able to just find things like this. And as you see, like Giant Steps, you know, here's, for example, the Giant Steps from the New Real book. Here's my Giant Steps voice leading graph.
Oh.
Let's see.
Come on. Oh, that's right. I just entered this one and I forgot to, I haven't done the link on this computer, so it only links on my other computer. So, sorry about that. But, yeah, so you can, and you see the structural line stuff in comments, you know, I can expand these fields where I get notate, where, you know, it's available in the Real Book 1, the New Real Book 2, you know, so you can look at, you know, first chords, cadences, first chords of the bridge, you know, so. Jeff?
Did you think about adding all the discographical information to this?
Well, yeah, you see, in other words, it's down, see, recordings? So in other words, I can do as much of this as I want. So obviously, you know, something like Moment's Notice, you know, appeared on Blue Train, so, but, you know, if I wanted to, obviously, great, you know, Coltrane discography is gigantic, so there's really kind of no point in duplicating it on the database. So in other words, it's kind of from my recollection, oh yeah, Moment's Notice appears on Blue Train. So, you know, but you see references. So for example, let's say there are scholarly references to something. Again, I haven't done repertory lists. Like, that's another thing I find interesting. This made it onto the New School, when I used the New School repertory list. This was Naima, made it onto the New School repertory list. And what's interesting about this repertory list is it's only 1 page long. So, in other words, Reggie Workman and the guys at the New School back in '92 decided that this was an extremely important tune. You know, because we're talking about a page with only about 40 tunes on it.
Yeah.
You know? So you know, all of these, you know, bars, form, style, jazz, ballad, you know, in other words, all this kind of stuff is subjective. So, but the possibilities are enormous. Dan?
Sorry, can you
Sure.
put the URL, the website address back up for the, didn't you have a?
Is this something that people can visit on the web?
No,
Or just on your-
no. What I was referring to was the online bibliography.
Oh,
That's that.
Oh, yeah.
That's just the jazz theory bibliography, but it's really pretty cool. It's 601 entries in it
Oh,
now.
that's pretty good.
But you know, but it's, you know, as I said, still has a long way to go.
And one other thing before you go, you didn't play us your music even though we.
Well, as I said, you don't want to do too much. Yeah, you know, get into this stuff.
But I think that one of the music streaming databases that Rutgers subscribes to, either the Naxos or the DRAM, has that label, Albany Records. Do you know?
I did not know that.
You might want to check.
Yeah.
There are 2 huge databases. You can listen to complete albums, thousands of albums, that are on the Rutgers Library website. Well, I'm going to go through this in historiography, but one of them is Naxos, and the other is DRAM, and I think your music is on one of those.
Yeah, well, I have the 2 Albany CDs, so very,
Okay.
very, very possible.
I think Albany is on one of those, maybe the DRAM. So
Okay, turn it over.
you can listen to the entire album.
Okay, thank you. A lot of fun.